And I'm sure glad you decided to stay with us here at Yerkes. We sure can use a Rhodes Scholar.
This summer has been truly fascinating. Teaching high school at home was a trap. My dream was dying. Yerkes is where I truly belong.
And so much for that illustrious law education.
I still can't believe I failed the bar exam.
But your thesis proposal here, now that's a long shot. No one has the slightest clue what those faint specks might be.
All the more reason we should go after the spiral nebulae, sir.
Leading to a dead end, for sure.
Professor Turner at Oxford is dead sure that the spiral nebula will lead to the edge of the universe.
Perhaps, perhaps.
I personally believe they could be spiral universes filled with millions of stars.
Island universe. That's just a poetic description from a romantic philosopher. Good for a dreamer, not an astronomer.
You mustn't write off Kant, sir. After all, he did figure out why our Milky Way is shaped like a band.
Ah, yes, the Milky Way. Now, that's the place to be. Hales captured that Princeton whiz over at Mount Wilson, Harlow Shapley. Now, he's at the jugular of the Milky Way. Consider that.
All the more reason we should go for the nebulae, then.
How the devil are you going to get anywhere, especially with a 40-inch, while Shapley's picking off the gems with their 60-inch, and now there's talk of a 100-inch. We are losing the telescope battle to Hale.
Pah! Hale ordered that giant lens from France. It'll never get across the ocean past the German U-boats.
Look, Hale's going to put us out of business. He keeps stealing all our best astronomers.
The war is bound to slow him down, and it won't be long before America's jumping in with Britannia. I wish I could be there.
Steady now, young man. It's simply a battle between worn-out empires. Wilson's going to keep America out, thank goodness.
What did you think of Cypher's amazing news today, Professor Frost? And that standing ovation,
Outrageous. Such applause is just not fitting for our Astronomical Society meeting, and definitely not for some silly drifting smudges of light. So what if they're drifting about?
You mustn't underestimate the impact, sir. A nebula hurtling away from us at 2.5 million miles per hour. An astounding clip, an incredible find.
Nebulae, that's all you talk about, Hubble. The Milky Way is the hot topic now, and Shapley's moving real fast. You need to get a jump on it, Hubble.
You're missing the point, sir. A nebula moving so fast must clearly get far outside our Milky Way. I must figure out how to measure the distances to those nebulae in order to get in the game.
That's going to be tough. We barely have a handle on the size of our Milky Way. Get serious, Hubble. This is your chance to mingle with the best astronomers of the day. Shapley, congratulations, young man. I hear you have become king at Wilson Peak.
A king who must climb the mountain every day on the back of donkeys.
It must have been difficult to leave a secure faculty position at Princeton.
Princeton's a dead end. The frontier is where the action is. How could I pass up a chance at the 60-inch? Look here, Frost. I want you to meet, I've just run across a theoretical physicist, a physics student from Belgium, Georges Lemaitre.
Lemaitre.
He's following parallel careers as a physicist and a priest.
And I'd like you to meet my protege, Edwin Hubble, a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford.
Originally from Missouri.
Ah, Missouri, my home state. We should have much in common.
George, such contradictory careers. How did you ever get interested in physics?
We do marvel at a man of the cloth becoming a scientist. How can you maintain scientific credibility in that garb?
What mental gymnastics you must go through. Couldn't you just find all the answers you are seeking in religion?
Gentlemen, there are two ways of arriving at truth. I decided to follow both.
But how do you deal with all the conflicts?
It is my endeavor to reconcile the twin worlds.
Reconcile? Your church will never reconcile. Look what they did to poor Galileo, and they've hardly changed since. I have absolutely no need nor use for religion.
Galileo, a deeply religious man. Yet he clearly understood that the Bible is not a textbook for science.
And like Galileo, doesn't your pursuit of science get you in trouble with your religion?
Not at all. I can be a Christian and pursue science without getting into difficulty because my faith has absolutely nothing in common with my scientific activity. After all, as a Christian, I do not behave any differently than a non-believer while I am walking or running or swimming.
But doesn't science lead you to lose your religious beliefs?
Hardly. Should I reject the doctrine of Trinity simply because it bears no connection to Einstein's relativity? Being necessary for salvation, the Trinity doctrine is stated in the Bible. If the theory of relativity had also been necessary for salvation, it would have been revealed to St. Paul or even to Moses. What are you working on at Yerkes, Hubble?
I am hankering after the true nature of the spiral nebulae.
Kind of a wispy topic for a PhD. How will you ever find a job? Frost, you ought to rein in your protégés,
I've been pulling my hair out.
if there's any left.
Personally, I believe it's a little too early to come to any hard and fast conclusions, Professor Shapley.
Look here, young man. I'm sure your spirals are just rotating clouds of gas hanging in the Milky Way. A pitiful waste of time.
Don't you see? Slifer just got a standing ovation for his report today. A nebula moves 30 times faster than a star. Such speeds are simply too great for the nebulae to remain within our Milky Way.
Your imagination is running riot. Such helter-skelter puffs of clouds, puffs of gas tell us nothing about the nature of the universe.
But they could be island universes, galaxies.
Poetic humbug. The Milky Way is everything. The place to be. You mark my words.
He pisses more than he can drink.
He does have a bit of a hit-and-run approach, and to one of our greatest scientific questions. How can he be so sure, and with nary a clue as to the nebulae distances?
Ah, yes, astronomical distances. A hot topic. I wonder now, where is Leavitt? She's made a breakthrough in measuring distances.
I thought Leavitt was just another one of Pickering's star cataloging factories.
That's what people think, but Pickering's women at Harvard are leaving their mark on astronomy. The rooster has a productive henhouse, after all.
A woman PhD from Harvard.
Ha! Women can never be students at Harvard. Can you believe that heartless Pickering hired Leavitt and 20 other women to be scanning machines? They examined tons and tons of photographs at 25 cents an hour.
Ha! That's less than my sisters make with their piano lessons. But just wait, their time will come.
Pickering complains that men lack concentration. He swears his maid is far better at scanning photographic plates. He sacked his entire male team, then put that very maid in charge. Now a housemaid is the leader of Pickering's harem, as they call it, behind his back.
The very fact that he would hire women for astronomy is a giant step. Here she comes.
Ah, Henrietta, so glad you could join us.
Oh, sorry. We must be on our way. Pickering's called a meeting.
Did you hear Slifer's amazing news today?
I was amazed at how he measured those incredible nebulae speeds without knowing anything of their distances.
If I may explain. When a nebula moves away from us, all the lines from the spectrum of light in that nebula get shifted towards the red end. It's called the red shift. It's like the Doppler effect for sound waves from those sirens outside. As the car approaches, the pitch gets higher. As the car moves away from us, the pitch gets lower. The tone of the sound waves is like the color of the light waves, both determined by the wave lag.
You need not go down to that level. Leavitt has a high-level physics education from Radcliffe, almost as good as a Harvard degree. And your analogy with sound waves, most insensitive.
That's quite all right. I get that a lot. Never underestimate the pleasure of hearing what you already know, even if you only hear a little.
Hubble is dying to find distances to the spiral nebulae. Pickering can wait a few moments. I hear you are working on distances yourself.
Oh, so kind of you to ask, but well, we can't be late, but it is my favorite topic. I've made a small discovery about Cepheid variable brightness stars. Do you know anything about variable brightness stars, Dr. Hubble?
Now that's a new one on me.
They are stars that brighten rapidly and dim slowly over regular clock-like period. Some cycle over a period of a day, some over 10 days, some cycle over weeks. I spent months scrutinizing thousands of variable stars from one sole region of the southern sky, the Large Magellanic Cloud, until I came across something curious. 2 stars of the same variation pattern show the exact same brightness. And what's more, the longer the period, the brighter the star.
Fascinating. The brightness of a Cepheid is proportional to its period.
That's fine and dandy, but what does that have to do with distances?
I was getting to that. Suppose you find such a variable brightness star in one of your favorite nebula.
By Jove, that would be exciting. Imagine finding just a single ordinary star.
And your Cepheid cycles over the same period as one inside my Magellanic Cloud. So they must have the same true brightness. Do you follow? I mean, they must both be as bright as 100 suns.
But even still, wouldn't my Cepheid be far dimmer than your much closer Cepheid?
it would be barely discernible, I'd say. Your Cepheid would appear 9 times fainter than mine if it was 3 times further away. There's your distance connection.
What a cunning idea. Levitt, you have dug up a real gem.
But still, how do I get the real distance to my Cepheid, or to your Cepheid for that matter?
Well, that's the burning question. So far, we've only been able to tell their relative distances. But now, all we need is the correct distance to any one in the entire sky.
By Jove! If anyone's going to find that, it's going to be you. It'll be your Rosetta Stone.
And you will have in your hands a brand new cosmic yardstick for your darn nebulae.
Well, there's just one problem. All the Cepheids we have found are simply too far away, even for our best distance measuring methods.
How can you get that distance?
Oh, I would like to, but Pickering never allows me access to a telescope.
Pity. Pickering only wants his women to stare at photographs, not at deep space.
Yes! We free up our male astronomers to stare at space. And they usually come up empty. Excuse me, I see my boss is looking for me.
Her hearing keeps getting worse after her bout with the fever. She may be deaf, but she has the eye of a hawk.
When God closes a door, he opens a window. You know what the Talmud says. That a woman came from a man's rib, not from his feet to be walked on, and not from his head to be superior, but from his side to be equal.
Pickering thinks that telescopes and cold, dark observatories are not for the fairer sex. The thought of a man and woman working together late at night, staring up romantically at the stars, offends the Victorian. I say astronomy in America finally has the chance to overtake Europe, and for 2 main reasons. Pickering discovered women, and Hale discovered money. And how is the quest for the new 100-inch, my friend? How did you get that tycoon to cough up his millions?
That's a good story. I told John Hooker that a giant, shiny, white dome on top of Mount Wilson would be a fitting monument. His everlasting legacy to California.
The bigger the telescope, the better. That's America.
Do you have a finish date?
Grinding that awful hunk of French glass is taking forever. My wife says I'm going to have a breakdown. She keeps wishing that abominable disc had sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
I hear that glass is full of bubbles. Why take the risk to grind such a faulty disc, George?
Our quest to fathom the great depths of our universe requires great risk, my friend. Think what I had to go to install our 60-inch. Just look at this picture. One misplaced wheel, and the entire 60-inch could plummet right to the bottom of the canyon. But we made it.
Mules dragging a mighty instrument up treacherous roads must make quite an impression on your benefactors. And when have you to show for dragging all my best people out to California? Any staggering discoveries?
Our expert Shapley's at it, so you watch out.
We'll see about that. I have a sharp young lad right here. I'd like you to meet Edwin Hubble, a Rhodes Scholar from Oxford.
Hubble. Someday you should join us in sunny California. A real telescope.
No need to steal him just yet. He has much to learn.